Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Hawaii astrologer here. This is not your regular show. As you can see from the title, this is a special edition. I'm going to get off to Kauai and hope that Ho'iki, bless their hearts, plays it often, because I'm a little bit late on this. I wish I'd have done it a couple weeks earlier. But I was watching the Big Island, and this thing is sneaking around the west side of Kauai the way I see it. So I'm going to give you the evidence here and some hints, but by and large you're looking at high winds, on the west side of Kauai. They're probably going to knock some poles down. You're going to lose some power. You're going to feel a little isolated. That's what happens with Uranus. And so let me show you more about this. Though there's going to be another hurricane system late in the year that looks more serious. This looks like something that passes sort of quickly, but it still looks like a hurricane thing to me. Okay, here's the way it looks on July 6th, 2 days after the July 4th lunation, that new moon. And you can see this little hurricane here. I don't know that they have a name on it yet. Here's our islands over here. And this has got a real tight eye on it, if you notice. Here's a close-up for you. They're kind of pretty, hurricanes. But you can see this real tight eye here. It's moving sort of slow. It's probably going to take 10 days, 2 weeks before it hits our island. And this, is just one probably of several that are going to pop up about this time. If you look over here, here's where they pop up and start to spin a little bit, and then they work their way across the Pacific Ocean. And this is what I'm kind of used to for years, and it seems like we're back to it now. I think El Nino changed or something, but I kind of think of it like a bowling alley almost, is that they pop up over here in Mexico, Baja, and then they slowly revolve around and roll down here at the Hawaiian Islands. And which one is something going to hit? Is there going to be a problem? Is this Aniki about to trash Hawaii again? I don't think so, but I'm going to give you some data on it and tell you that at the very least you're going to lose some poles and some electrical things. And let me show you what's going on Kauai. Now, I'm mostly concerned here with this July 4th new moon. On July 19th, there's a full moon that tends to indicate some quakiness and possible stuff, but it's not aimed at our island so much. Why is this July 4th signal possible high winds? There it is. There's Uranus, right smack dab on the rising sign, and I set this up for Poipu Beach. Now, Uranus on the rising sign makes people feel alone and isolated, and it's the classic is the electricity went out, the TV cable goes out, and various electrical problems. Here's the other thing about this chart, is that we got Pluto up here at the very top. Now, the midheaven is what you see out in public. When I see Pluto on the midheaven, I think of sirens, and there's policemen all over the road saying, you got to leave the beach, that kind of stuff. This is policemen, emergency people, sirens, a sense of emergency and panickiness almost out in public. So now I'm going to run through a bunch of these charts for you and show you kind of why I'm cycled in on Kauai, okay? And this all starts, let's see, we had a new moon here. This is at my house in Kona, and I check that kind of regular now. Notice, please, Uranus is at 24:14. The rising sign here is at 28. We're 4 degrees off. That's a lot. And when you look up at the midheaven, well, it's 4 degrees off too, Pluto. But as you start to move west, let's see, oh, there's Hilo. It's even further, see? Hilo's out of danger, 5 degrees off that Uranus. We're at 29. So the effects are less in Hilo and then in Kona. And let's go march up the chain. So here's Kona. And let's see, the next one, Kahului. And Kahului is 3.5 degrees off the Uranus stuff. It's a little further too, huh? Let's go further. Here's Honolulu. And Honolulu, we got 2 degrees off the rising sign. Now the rising sign is where the action is. This is your body, so to speak. The more close Uranus gets to this, the more jittery and the more isolated and a little shocky you will feel. So where this thing hits exactly, it's kind of a big deal. Let's continue. Here's Kapa'a, and bang, we're really close. Look at that, we're only 1/4 degree off. And Pluto's 1 degree off the midheaven. And so I started looking around Kauai more. Here's Lahui, and it's closer. Here we are, we're only, 9 minutes off the rising sign. Yeah, you go to Poipu, and wow, it's right smack on. You know, this is right on. And Pluto is less than 1 degree off the midheaven. I checked out some more. Here's Koloa. It's right smack on Koloa, 1 minute off. Here's Hanapepe. Still, we're 10 minutes off, but Uranus has gone over the other side. It's still really close, you know. Here's Waimea. And again, we're only 1/4 degree off. And Pluto's tight up there. So, you know, here I finally went to Niihau. And Niihau is a little further off. But Pluto is right on the midheaven. Like they have more sirens and more emergency stuff going on over there. But they, you know, this thing is tight there too. So when you look at how this Uranus moves, you know, from the 12th house, you're not going to feel it much, huh? It moves across the rising sign here, and then into the 1st house. It gets loud and physical, and that's what we're looking for. We call it angularity, huh? Okay, the next thing, a little trick of the trade, okay, is I want to look at the lunations that come after the 4th of July that might tell me more about the timing of when this bad wind happens. And when you look after a hurricane at the next few lunations, it tells you more about the conditions afterwards. And that gives you a handle on how bad it is. I mean, it takes months and months after a Niki of stuff. So now we're going to look at those lunations downstream and see if we can learn something. I've set them up again for Poipu. I want to see what it's like there. And here on July 11th, Mars is there. That's good. Mars making preparations, trining the Sun and Mercury and Venus, fixing things, setting things up. Trine's over here to Chiron, going to take care of people who have trouble, groups, healing people. There's a lot of positive stuff going on here. Pluto sextiling the rising sign. I mean, this is a nice chart. Here's Jupiter sextile the rising sign. Not bad. So this probably hasn't hit. Here's July 19th. This is the full moon that I've been working with because it squares Uranus. And this one shows the moon at the bottom of the chart. Concern for the home. Here's men running around out in public trying to get something fixed. And it trines Mars. Their heroes are out. And trines Chiron. And so they're going to take care of those that can't care for themselves or the wounded ones. At any rate, Uranus is over here. It's 5.5 minutes off opposing. And usually, I mean, 5.5 degrees. At 5 degrees, it gets active. You're supposed to put it over here. So Uranus is present, and they're worried about it. They're fearing Uranus here on July 19th, which means that the thing is imminent, or everybody's concerned about it for some reason, and this narrows our window a little bit. And let's look on further. Here's the July 26th three-quarter moon. What's going on? We're all concerned about other people. The moon's on the 7th house here on Kauai, and the sun's up at the top. The men are still out there trying to get things done, and the concern is for the moon people here. Yeah. So this is a personal, you know, we're concerned about personal stuff, and it's probable the 19th was the big signal for the hurricane to hit, and there's still a lot of preparation going on here. Mars is in the first house. Go out and get all those things that might blow around and lock them down somehow. It'll blow around there and break your window. Okay, here's the August 2nd new moon in Oahu, and interesting, we got Saturn sextile the rising and the sun and moon trining Saturn. There's some rebuilding going on. Pluto's at the bottom of the chart and has to do with the resurrection and rebuilding of homes, if there's the security of them. But the moon and the sun trining Saturn and sextile the rising, that makes you feel like things are well organized, and maybe we're over any downstream problems because of all of this, okay? That's my feeling. Let's check more. August 10th, first quarter moon. Here's some other people are worried about, some people who are Chiron a little bit, wounded healers. But we're taking care of things. Jupiter's in the first. The concerns, the building, the Mars and the Saturn are out here on the road fixing signs and fixing roads, and the moon sextile the rising. It's not bad. So even though there's some people that need help over here that we're still dealing with, it's not big downstream damage with all the roads are out and shit. No. So here's August 17th, full moon. Now we're a full month after the 19th full moon. And if it was a really nasty situation, you'd still be seeing the damage. And here's Pluto trining the rising sign. Here's Jupiter and Mercury and Venus. Everybody's out having fun. The kids are happy. So I don't see any nasty stuff on the angles here. And looks like we're done with the recovery too, if there was one. Here's three-quarter moon, August 24th. Looks okay to me. August 31st, new moon. We're happy campers. September 9th, first quarter moon. Here's Pluto over here for some reason. Concerns with policemen? I don't know. That's not hitting the rising sign or the midheaven. So basically I didn't find a lot of downstream damage. It needs to be fixed. That's why I say this is a passing hurricane that's going to affect your electricity. Okay, we've been looking at place with astrocartography. Now we want to look at time. And my messy old ephemeris with my notes is my tool. Please excuse the messiness of it. But here's the month of July. You know, here's the month of August. Now what's important is that the planet Uranus is stopping here. And when it slows down and stops, and it goes retrograde or direct, when a planet stops is when it totally acts up. And here's Uranus. There it is. It goes retrograde at 24 degrees 30 minutes. And when Uranus does that, you've got about 20 days on either side as it gets stronger and stronger, peaks out here, and then 20 days it tails off. And what happens with Uranus is suddenness. It's sudden. Everything changes suddenly. Got to ignore my notes here on water rationing. But Uranus is like a glitch. It's like, bang, the TV blew out. Or bang, suddenly the company went belly up. And all these things happen very suddenly. That's the mark of Uranus, huh? That's why the electronics, it's so obvious. So here's the peak of it. Now, on the inner realms, what happens when Uranus stations is you get very independent. You might get rebellious. You might be tired of all this same old stuff. I'm going to quit my job and go to Costa Rica. There are all sorts of ideas can come up. A lot of independence, a lot of free thinking, a lot of common sense shows up as Uranus stops. A lot of unusual things that are different. You know, this is UFO time. They used to call it silly season when Uranus stopped. So here's the time when it peaks out. Now, we got our signal from the full moon back here on the 4th of July. But, you know, this signal can go for 1 or 2, 3 months, some of the past studies I've done. The fact that Uranus stations here at the end of July is a big deal. And tells us that this is the peak of the shaking, the peak of you know, you're looking at quakes, are very sudden, but also tornadoes and hurricanes, high wind. Uranus has to do with the wind. Neptune has to do with the water. So we didn't see a lot of Neptune problems on Kauai after this. This looks like a wind event. If a hurricane was going to come along, you'd see a lot of flooding too, see, if it was something that really hit us. Okay, so now here's the point on the 19th of July where we have a full moon, and that full moon squares Uranus, and that makes Uranus more irritable. I mean, you might get along now with the constant beeping of the horns and other things of that nature. Uranus bells and whistles and noises and hums and, you know, things that are going, you know, the damn airplane goes over my house every day. You can put up with this stuff normally, but when the full moon squares it on the 19th, you're not going to feel like doing that. You're going to be more irritated. So this brings Uranus up, and it's an even more difficult planet, is the full moon squaring it. Now, once the full moon squares it, there's going to be little points here where it gets extra active. And of course, one is about the time it stops. What I've done here is I've made these green lines for Uranus as that color where the moon hits it. See, so here's the moon in Capricorn. This is the full moon on the 18th, 19th of July. And it's going to make this active. We're going to be extra ticked off at the noises and the wind. So here's our first possible. This is the hurricane you saw on the, I just showed you on the tube there, is that one should arrive about here if it's going to be the one. There's another one here this Monday. That's when the moon conjuncts Uranus. The moon's going by Uranus. It's Monday, the 25th. Uranus stops here a few days later. This is when the whole world is thinking about Uranus and earthquakes and tornadoes and things that go around and, you know, homeless people and rebels and all kind of stuff. So it's a Monday, huh? There's another one here on Monday, the 1st of August. And this one also has that irritating Uranus quality to it that says this could be another point where the hurricane could show up. I mean, these two on either side of the station, the one on Monday the 25th and then on Monday the 1st of August, are very likely times for the wind to rise up and give you trouble. If you don't catch it then, there's another one here on Monday the 8th of August, and that's this blue line here. when things can happen. Now, Saturn is stopping here. Now, here's throwing us a ringer. This would makes this dangerous for earthquakes, because Uranus shakes and then big heavy things fall on people and kill them. That's Saturn. So this is not a good combination. Thankfully, we're looking at just high wind here. But there could be one more on Monday, the 15th of August, when the moon goes around. See, the moon opposes Uranus, and that's when we're most ticked off at Uranus, on Monday the 8th. That's a very likely time for Uranus to blow down the pole out in your yard, because the moon's opposing Uranus, and we're saying we don't like Uranus, so we don't like the wind, we don't like the electric power company. Over here, the moon in Libra, that's a real possibility on Monday the 8th. Here on Monday the 15th, the moon's in Capricorn. We're going back to where that full moon was first. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And those that are mostly here clustered around this period, the last week of July, the first week of August, are the likely times when Uranus is going to make a problem for you. And the wind is going to rise. So, the timing of it all, yeah? That's what that's about. Well, the one thing I know is that it's not hitting Hilo and Kona too strongly, so that hurricane has got to come south of us. It probably won't go north because the water's real cold. So it goes south of us, and the chances are it could curve up from a southern path and kind of clip Kauai a little bit, or go by Kauai enough to where there's a lot of wind hitting, the south side and the west side, most especially, from what we saw of the chart. So I wouldn't say that Lihue and Kapa'a aren't going to catch some of this, because they're less than 1 degree off this Uranus on the rising sign, huh? Yeah. Finally, here's another hint for you. Cats, yes, cats predict quakes, and they predict hurricanes. And if you see cats up in trees like this one, or on rooftops, cats start wandering. They know in advance when a big quake is coming, or a hurricane or something, and boy, they take action. So you can watch outside your house, and if you have cats around, watch their behavior, and by golly, they will telegraph what's going on for you. If they think there's something coming up, they take off. I'll never forget living over on Ama'o Road above Kaloa, and before Aniki, wow, cats walking up the middle of the street. I never saw cats out there like that before. They were leaving home. There's a thing where in fact, we checked the Garden Isle newspaper, and we saw the lost pets column get larger and larger and larger. Even 2 months before Aniki happened, you started seeing the increase, and it peaked out just before Aniki. And there were pets taking off right and left. So animal behavior is a good thing. If your cats take off and go hide someplace, maybe you should too. At the very least, you double all of your preparations. That's what you do. And you can trust these animals. You can. They're very famous for predicting quakes and things. The Chinese use them. They also use snakes. All the snakes come out of their holes when just before a quake. But dogs and cats, but mostly cats. That's what I noticed after Aniki. Cats just, wow. They were all over the road out in front of my place. And 2-3 weeks later, There wasn't much left of my place. No, even the big trees were gone. Oh boy. Well, you folks know what to do to prepare. Last of all, skymirrorastrology.com/TV is my website. And when you get to it, you'll see my Amakua, Honu, the turtle, the only animal in the world that's always looking up at the sky to see what's going on. So you can get the last 5 or 6 shows on my website, and other interesting things. That's me when I was a little bit younger. Anyway, heads up, no fear, keep calm, carry on.